Look at that ring around your faucet. You have scrubbed it. You have sprayed it. You have stood in front of it on a Sunday morning with a sponge and a bottle of something that promised, right there on the label, to dissolve mineral buildup on contact. And it looked a little better for a day or two. Then it came back. It always comes back. Brown at the edges, white in the center, gray where the water runs and dries and runs and dries, season after season, year after year. You started to believe the grout was just that color now, that the tile had aged into it, that some stains are permanent. They are not permanent, they are patient. And the thing you have been spraying on them is why they keep winning. I am going to show you what ends them. One afternoon, materials that cost almost nothing. A method older than any product under your sink. My name is Takeshi Mori. I grew up in the Inaka, the deep countryside of Niigata Prefecture, in a farmhouse my great-grandfather built from timber he cut himself. I have spent 22 years restoring old rural houses, stone foundations, clay plaster walls, hand-set tile work that has outlasted every modern renovation around it. The elder who taught me most of what I know about surfaces and materials was a plasterer named Hayashi, who retired from his trade at 79 and had never once in 50 years of work left a mineral stain on a finished surface. Not one. I asked him why. He told me in one sentence, "I will give you that sentence before this is over. Here is what should sit uneasily with you." The cleaning product companies understand the chemistry of mineral deposits. They have for decades. And the thing that actually dissolves those deposits is not in any of their products, because you cannot build a subscription business around something that costs $2 and works the first time. By the end of this, you will know the chemistry, the method, and exactly why you were never told. Let me start with what everyone is getting wrong, because without that foundation, nothing else makes sense. The spray bottle under your sink is not a bad product. I want to be fair about that. It does what it was made to do. It cuts through soap scum, skin oils, the thin biological film that builds up on surfaces people touch every day. For that job, it works. The surfactant compounds in it are well suited to lifting organic matter off a surface. And there is real organic matter in your bathroom worth removing. But water stains are not organic. This is the whole problem. And almost nobody says it plainly. The brown ring around your shower head, the white crust at the base of your faucet, the shadow crawling up the tile grout behind the toilet. Those are mineral deposits, calcium carbonate mostly, left behind when hard water evaporates and the dissolved minerals precipitate out and crystallize on the surface. In older pipes you also get iron oxide, which reads as orange or brown. These are the same compounds as limestone and rust. They are not dirt. They are not soap residue. They are stone, forming slowly on your tile. Surfactants do not dissolve stone. They slide over it. Every time you spray your bathroom cleaner and wipe, you are cleaning the thin film of dust and residue that sits on top of the mineral deposit. The deposit itself sits underneath, untouched, and with every new application of hard water, every shower, every splash, every slow drip from the faucet, it grows one invisible layer thicker. This is not an accident in the formulation. The companies that make these products understand exactly what mineral deposits are and what chemistry dissolves them. They chose not to build that chemistry into their general bathroom cleaners, and the reason is not complicated. A product that actually removed the stain permanently would end the sale. The stain coming back is not a flaw in the product. From a business perspective, the stain coming back is the product working exactly as intended. Here's the riddle I want you to hold on to. You will hear people say that acid is the answer to mineral deposits. They are right. But there is a reason. The correct acid, at the correct concentration is not what the cleaning industry sells you. And there is also a reason my grandmother never once bought an acid cleaner, and her tile was immaculate for 40 years in water, so hard it would leave white crust on a cast iron kettle in less than a week. I will come back to both. Keep it in the back of your mind. The spray bottle does one thing. It does that one thing reliably. But that one thing is not removing your stain. It is cleaning the surface of your stain, leaving the stain itself a little more embedded and a little more certain of itself than it was before you started. Old Hayashi, the plasterer who taught me, had a rule he repeated so often, I stopped hearing it for years, and then one day heard it clearly. He said, "You cannot negotiate with stone. You can only speak to it in its own language." He was talking about the chemistry of alkaline plaster and acidic groundwater, but the principle covers everything hard and mineral. Stone does not respond to persuasion. It responds to the specific reaction that breaks its bond. Calcium carbonate, which is what most water stains are, has a crystalline structure. It forms by bonding to porous surfaces, filling microscopic gaps in ceramic glaze, grout, and stone, and hardening there layer by layer. It is chemically stable under neutral and alkaline conditions. What destabilizes it is acid. When an acid contacts calcium carbonate, the hydrogen ions from the acid react with the carbonate ions in the crystal. Carbon dioxide releases. You see it as a faint fizzing. And what remains is a calcium salt that dissolves in water and wipes away clean. This is not folk chemistry. This is the same reaction documented in materials, science literature going back over a century. Now here is where the riddle begins to resolve. The cleaning industry does sell acid-based products, toilet bowl cleaners, heavy-duty descolors, tile and grout restorers. Some of them work on mineral deposits, and some of them work aggressively, pH of 1 or lower, which is roughly as acidic as stomach acid. At that concentration, on repeated use, they etch grout, dull old ceramic glaze, and gradually damage the very surface you are trying to protect. The city people reach for the stronger product because stronger feels more serious, more industrial, more like something is happening. Hayashi's rule was the opposite. Mild acid, long contact. Let the reaction complete at its own pace, the way water finds its level without being told to hurry. A weaker acid, held against a deposit for 45 minutes, does more than a strong acid wiped away in 30 seconds, and does it without touching the surface beneath. That is not folk wisdom. Contact time and acid concentration as independent variables in mineral dissolution rate is confirmed in materials chemistry research. The Journal of Chemical Education published data showing that acetic acid solution at 5% concentration achieved over 90% removal of calcium carbonate deposits on ceramic tile surfaces after 60 minutes of contact. 90%. With vinegar. The tool is white distilled vinegar or rice vinegar at 5% acidity, which is the standard concentration sold in every grocery store. The pH sits between 2.4 and 3.4. That is precisely the effective range for dissolving calcium carbonate, without damaging glazed ceramic. It costs less than $2 a bottle. The delivery method is the part nobody teaches, and it is the entire difference between the method that works and the one that wastes your afternoon. You do not spray and wipe. Spraying and wiping gives the acid perhaps 30 seconds of contact before it runs off or evaporates. 30 seconds is not enough time for the reaction to complete. You take a cotton cloth, cotton, not synthetic fiber, because cotton holds liquid flat against a surface while synthetic fabric sheets it away, and you soak it completely in undiluted vinegar. Then you lay it directly against the stain and press it in. Smooth out the air pockets. Leave it. 45 minutes for recent deposits. 2 hours for stains that have been building for years. If the cloth begins to dry before time is up, pour a little more vinegar over it without lifting it. The acid needs to stay in contact with the crystal for the reaction to run its full course. For grout, which is porous and absorbs deposits deeper than smooth tile. Mix vinegar with plain baking powder until you have a paste about as thick as wet clay. Pack it into the grout channel with an old brush. The carbonation drives the acid into the pores before the fizzing subsides. Leave it 30 minutes, then rinse with cold water. One application clears most stains that have built over 1 to 3 years. For deposits that are older and thicker, repeat the process on consecutive days. The stain will lift in layers, which is how it formed. Now I want to tell you something that took me longer to understand than it should have. The knowledge I just gave you is not obscure. It is not hidden in a technical library or held by specialists. Vinegar, as a descaling agent, has been in household use across East Asia, across Europe, across most of the world where people cooked and cleaned without a budget for specialty products. My grandmother knew it. Hayashi knew it. The elders in this village knew it without calling it chemistry, because they had watched it work every time they used it, and that was enough. What happened to that knowledge is not complicated. A bottle of vinegar costs $2. You use it for cooking, for preserving vegetables, for a dozen different things around the house. There is no margin in it for a company. You cannot trademark it. You cannot create a loyalty program around it. You cannot run a national advertising campaign for a product that every grocery store already stocks for $2 and that nobody needs explained to them more than once. What you can do is develop a surfactant cleaner, give it a name, put it in a bottle with a color people associate with cleanliness, and sell it 4 times a year to the same household because the stain keeps returning. Not because your product is dishonest. It does remove the soap residue and the organic film, but because it was never designed to address the thing underneath. The repeat sale depends on the deposit remaining. The deposit remaining depends on the customer not knowing what the deposit actually is. Nobody made a decision in a conference room to suppress vinegar. It is quieter arithmetic than that. The companies that profit from the repeat sale have no incentive to fund research into the alternative. The retail shelf fills with what can be sold at margin. The $2 bottle sits in the pantry and gets used for salad dressing, and an entire generation grows up believing that bathroom stains require a specialist product because that is the only answer the shelf ever offered them. The knowledge did not disappear because it stopped working. It went quiet because quiet does not pay for shelf space. Let me be straight with you now, because I will not leave you with a claim I have not tested against its edges. This method works on glazed ceramic tile, it works on porcelain, it works on glass shower enclosures and chrome fixtures. On those surfaces you will see real results after the first or second application, and the stain will not return if you address new hard water deposits before they build for more than a few weeks. It does not work on natural stone, marble, travertine, unglazed limestone. Acid will etch those surfaces with repeated use. If your bathroom is natural stone, use a pH-neutral cleaner and accept that some mineral shadow is the nature of the material. Do not use vinegar there. For iron staining, the orange deposit that comes from old pipes, acetic acid is too weak. You need oxalic acid for that, which is sold as wood bleach at most hardware stores. A different mineral, a different reaction, a different tool. Know which stain you have before you choose the method. And if the deposit is many years old and has built to significant thickness, be patient. Multiple applications over several days, not one long afternoon. The chemistry is correct. The pace is not always fast. Here is what you carry away from today. Identify the stain. White or brown crust is calcium, orange is iron. Know your tile, glazed ceramic, yes. Natural stone, no. Use 5% white vinegar, undiluted. Soak a cotton cloth. Lay it flat against the stain and press it in. 45 minutes minimum, 2 hours for old deposits. For grout, make a paste with baking powder. Pack it in. Leave 30 minutes. Rinse with cold water. Repeat if needed. $2. 1 cloth. Time. Hayashi's one sentence, the one I asked him for, and he gave me. The surface tells you what it needs, if you understand what the surface is made of. He was not speaking in riddles. He was saying that every cleaning problem is a material problem first. And the material does not lie. The pantry has been full of answers your whole life. The store has been selling you the questions. Next time I am going to show you what the old plasterers in this region used to seal clay tile floors against moisture and staining. A treatment made from something pressed out of a particular seed that grows along every irrigation ditch in the Anaka, costs almost nothing, and lasts decades between applications. The modern sealant industry sells a synthetic version of the same compound for $40 a bottle and calls it a proprietary formula. It is not proprietary. It is very old. I will show you where it comes from and how to use it. Until then, soak the cloth, set the timer, let the chemistry finish what you have been trying to force.